And I'm happy to be introducing this Fathom Events presentation of Enter the Dragon on its 50th anniversary.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown. They were chopping them up, they were chopping them down. It's an ancient Chinese art, and everybody knew their part. From a fainting to a slip, and a kicking from the hip. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, yeah. But they fought with expert timing. There was Funky Billy Chin and Little Sammy Chan. He said, "Here comes the big boss. Let's get it on." We took the bow and made a stand. Started swaying with the hand. Sudden motion made me skip. Now we're into a brand new trip. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
We're walking tour today, so this is basically Bruce's neighborhood that he grew up in, and there's lots of little oddities for Kung Fu and also for general tourism, so we're going to do a little mix of those things today. And I'm going to start with the least exciting thing on the tour so far. This purple building right here. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Way of the Dragon, where Bruce Lee fights Chuck Norris. You remember the waiters? And there was one waiter that gets knocked out right in the beginning. That is Unicorn Chan. Unicorn Chan was Bruce Lee's childhood friend, and his office was in this building basically until his own time to death. This is the least exciting thing on the tour. Okay, now we will continue. All the way down there, and if you come here at nighttime, so if you guys see this building over there, that white building with the blue stripe, that building back there is Queen's Elizabeth Hospital, and that's where Bruce Lee died. All right, in case you were wondering. Well, actually, he was already dead before he went there, but that was the famous hospital. He died all the way uptown, but for some reason they brought him all the way downtown. If you want to know the reason, ask me later. All right. So guys, here, this is the Teen Hao Temple. This is actually the temple at the end of Temple Street. In case you're wondering why it's called Temple Street, this is it right here. You can go in. Interesting thing about the Larrington Gym, about that location in Kang's Mansion, is that from 1967 until 1971, that was actually the location of Yip Man's school. It was the first location of the Wing Chun Athletic Association. And in 1971, they moved the Wing Chun Athletic Association to Hong Kong. And then when they moved over there, Sifu Larrington took the old building. So when you train at the Hong Kong headquarters, you are actually training at Yip Man's old school. You see this very, very non-exciting 1980s level mall here in Hong Kong. Before the 1980s, this was a typical Hong Kong apartment building. And in the 1950s and 60s, or 1940s and 50s, it was where Bruce Lee grew up. This was the building, the apartment that his father owned. It was only 5 stories back then, and their apartment was on the 5th floor. During the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong, the Japanese really liked Chinese opera, and Bruce Lee's father was a Chinese opera performer. So while the Japanese had occupied Hong Kong, Bruce's father still had a job. He would perform opera for the Japanese troops and earn money. And what his father did is, in post-war Hong Kong, where no one had any money, he had money because he performed for the Japanese. He bought the apartment in that building, and he bought 2 other apartments in Hong Kong when the price was extremely low. And then as Hong Kong's economy started to come back, he was more or less a wealthy landowner. And that's why Bruce Lee grew up as an upper middle class person. That's why even though he lived in Jordan, he often went to fancy private schools up in Kowloon Tong because his father owned some places. And then you can't really see it from here, we'll pass it. There's a yellow building right across the street. That yellow building used to be called the Shamrock Hotel, and that's where the Lee family used to eat all the time. So they used to just go across the street and eat at that restaurant. There's a famous photo of Bruce in a fencing costume in his apartment, and he's in front of the window, and when you look at the photo, you will see that yellow building in the background. So this was quite literally Bruce's street here. I apologize for the rain. I tried to stop it, but I couldn't do anything. You can read this one over here.
The elementary school that Bruce Lee went to.
So this was the elementary school that Bruce Lee went to. This is the Sutton Primary School. They have a little spiel here about Bruce and his brother. They also have a little mosaic that they made here because Bruce made this film while he was going to school here. Little child, right? So in the 1970s, this was not a big mall called The One. This was a normal office building where a guy named Raymond Chow had his office for Golden Harvest. And it was in this building that Bruce Lee signed his contract for Big Boss and Fist of Fury for $15,000 US for both films. And if you know about the drug letters, this is where Bob Baker was sending the cocaine to Bruce to Wunan. Also famous for that, all right?
Aber das war mein erster Gedanke.
Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris worked out their choreography for Way of the Dragon here.
When Bruce Lee was younger, he would go to this place with his brother. His brother Peter used to fence here. And later when Bruce Lee became a movie star, his brother Peter would still practice fencing here.
No way. Director. Bruce Lee, Big Boss, Fist of Fury.
This is one of the best.
This is how you got
The best to ever do it.
Genius.
Yeah, this way. You stay here long enough, you will inherit the power of Lau Kara.
So he's the guy in Legend of the Drunken Master 2, right?
Yes. Legend of the Drunken Master.
Sorry, I know.
Drunken Master 2, sir.
My apologies.
Jet Li.
You're like trying their vision. You're like, look a little further. That's amazing.
Jackie Chan. Sammo Hung. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee.
It's okay, there's a statue of Bruce later.
Didn't Fu Sheng live in Bruce Lee's house? He did, and that's part of the reason why they thought that the house was cursed. Because Bruce Lee died. He didn't die in that home, but died while living at that home. Right. And then 10 years, almost exactly 10 years later, in 1983, Fu Sheng died not at that home, but while living in that home. Yeah. Yes, I gotta get Yes, I gotta get We're going in. This crew comes in like this all that small. What? Just to go up and look at something. Someone's playing the theme. Here we are. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Yeah. Basically, jump out, get a pole. Here in this corner, and there was a pole that went down here into glass, and he had to jump and catch the pole and then slide all the way down. This right here, guys, so that we have AC.
Just wait, you just check it like wait. The building where essentially it's just set. So I thought like, but you own it in the sense of like
No, I've been renting that space for 20 years.
That's very interesting. Yeah, it's different. That's why you said like lean into it. You're like lean into it. And yeah, that's right. Like,
The parking garage rooftop where Bruce Lee took his famous fashion shots in his brown suit.
Can you imagine if it was hot?
that's
So different.
So you see, this is the building in the background. And
Did he did that shoot for some fashion magazine or was it a car?
no,
for his
it was
acting
a
or
photo
something?
shoot. He had his Mercedes there. He was doing a bunch of jump kicks. So he shot a bunch with Maria Yee. So this is this one here. This is right here. Bruce is actually hiding this building here in the back. So he's standing right here. So this is the spot right here. It's just a left hand side steering wheel. It's just, I don't know if that's true. This is what John Little, iconic crisscross one. It's here, and you can see the building there in the background.
yeah, that's
And here, look.
cool. That's so
See the building?
Yes.
And that was the Mercedes with the A, and you know that was his because the AX license plate.
I wish I could take you in, but I can't. It's not part of the tour. Alex Richter. Even if the guy will stop it or do it
Man Mo Temple.
Hey, what up? Hey son, all is not lost. I shall now give a lecture about what films and television series this has been used in, okay? Are you ready? Okay. So have you, who's seen the Jackie Chan film The Protector?
Me?
All the hands go up. So in there, Jackie parks his Range Rover, or his big Mitsubishi, what a Mitsubishi had, the Jeep, just down there, and him and Moon Lee come around the corner into the building to get the fortunes inside. They actually shot inside. And the director, James Glickenhaus, is like an extra walking past the shot. So that was the big, if you go back and look at the Protector, you see there's another movie with Cleopatra Jones, which was with Tamara Dobson, and John Chang, who was the bad guy in a lot of Jackie's movies, one of the Jackie Chan stunt team. And if you go to the steps, which actually lead up to our house, there's steps down there, and John Chang rides his motorcycle down around the corner in hot suit, and he was the only stuntman who accepted to ride his motorcycle down. So you go and see that. Was also seen in the film, a TV series, I Spy, with Bill Cosby and Robert Culp, where they walk across from there, going that way. You see the demolition of the building site. This up till recently was a school, and all of the films and television series that used the Manmo Temple actually had the school in the background. And it was also seen in the wonderful William Holm, Nancy Kwan romantic classic, The World of Susie Wong, where they come here to get the fortunes told. So that's movies and television series that use the Manmo Temple. And here you are today on this hallowed ground, and you can go and look at the steps, and you can go and see Cleopatra Jones on YouTube and see John Chang rolling it down. Faye Logan, live on Hollywood Road. Thank you. Thank you.
What an answer.
Curious story. Nobody knows this one there.
人中我三腳老風我世人仰望。世盡瘋狂，震驚四方。一生中幾許風雨浪，一生中挑戰死亡，榮耀長留世上。生命匆匆太短暫。勝過永是遙，永照萬方。太短暫，勝過永是遙，永照萬方。生命匆匆太短暫，勝過永是遙。
Okay, I'm gonna start heading back down. Alexander Fouchain.
So they have no standardized It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Orange. Like my beef outside the bridge. Yeah. Dancing floor. I hear this price.
It's kind of basically a Hong Kong martial culture center. We have 5 or 6 different teachers rotating every week, every night, different teachers. We have webinars every weekend. We have events, both promoting traditional Chinese martial arts and also martial culture, including all of the wonderful films part of our Hong Kong martial heritage. And it's our aim to really spread the benefits of Chinese traditional martial arts as a lifelong mind, body, spirit practice around the world, and it's wonderful to have people come and share all the things that we take and value so much in our culture and in our daily life. So thank you all for being here. Totally. How you doing?
Hey, doing great.
Great to be here.
All right, good listening
Good
to
to
your
have you guys.
commentaries for decades.
Oh, bless your heart.
No, but I'll go out there.
No, I just want to be decided. As long as you have clean communication and you push that.
This book is now totally devalued.
Welcome to Python Martial Club again, and very proud to introduce the main master of the school, Matthew Gong Sifu, who is going to take everybody through the basics of our Hongan Kyu. Sifu!
Welcome to Hong Kong. 譬如你見到我哋練習嘅時候咧，你坐下好低，佢條個腰，打出嚟。
Because we are using a position of full weights, we don't have to use a large movement. Only a small movement, we can achieve a large effect by using only a small movement.
See the tall buildings? Yes. It's already made in China. That's over the border.
Okay, guys, so just real quick, this is a monastery, which means that the monks still live here, which is why you want to be kind of quiet. This is actually a very cool place because normally monasteries don't just allow people to come in and walk around and take photos. They're extremely cool here, but we don't want to do anything to make them feel like that they shouldn't have done that. It's always very respectful, very quiet. Try not to raise your voice too much or yell or anything. This is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Buddhist monastery in all of Hong Kong. So it has a special historical significance in terms of Buddhism in this area here. Back in 1973, all of Tuen Mun here was like country. There were no buildings. It wasn't like this here. This was extremely remote. And if you remember the movie Enter the Dragon, the actor who plays the abbot, the Shaolin abbot, was an actor named Roy Chiao. He was an American Chinese actor who, by the way, played Senzo Tanaka in Bloodsport. All right, so it's the same actor. He was also an amateur pilot, and he used to fly his little Cessna type plane around here, and he saw this monastery from the sky. And while they were shooting Enter the Dragon, they wanted to have one more scene to fill in the opening fight scene where Bruce fights Sammo, and then before he gets the mission from Braithwaite to kind of establish Lee's character as not just a good fighter, but like a philosophical badass. And they were wondering where could they do this, and Roy Chow said, well, you know, while I was flying my plane, I saw this really cool monastery up there in Tunmun. And that's actually how they found this place. It was by chance by the actor Roy Chow, who played the abbot. So it was because of him, Senzo Tanaka, that we know about this place. There are kind of two spots of interest here in terms of Enter the Dragon. We're gonna go around back, basically right here up by this part of the wall is where he starts talking with the abbot, where he's like, you know, I do not hit, it hits all by itself. That part started right here, and last time I was here, they had like little plastic standees of Bruce and Roy Chow, so you can actually stand right there and then walk up. And then the Mr. Braithwaite conversation, where he was sitting, is just a little bit further down that path, and then the Kick Me, you know, where he's with the kids, like, what was that, an exhibition, is basically in between those two spots. Feel free to take photos there. If you want to know the exact spots, you just ask me, all right? I can tell you. But there are other parts of this monastery that are beautiful. Now that part over there is more where all the worship services are, so I would be very ginger if you went in that area. But even up around here, there's lots of cool stuff. And there's some little ledges, if you trust yourself to do some kind of martial art thing, where you have this awesome view of Tunmun in the background. If you guys have seen that photo of me doing the slant kick with Hong Kong in the background, I shot that right here. So it's a really picturesque place. So that's all I'm gonna say, because I don't want to talk too much. So let's go up, all right?
Have some tea. They drank tea up there, but they've got it blocked off. You can't get up there anymore, but you can see that blue ball in the background of the scene. Yes.
Will this be the song I'll be singing tomorrow? Will the notes from some magical flute sail on into the sky? Is this a glad song? Makes my heart go crazy, mad song. Or will the sound turn to silence and leave us a passing theme, disremembered to grieve us? Will this be the song I'll be singing tomorrow? Will the piper be paid for the tunes that he played by and by? Is this the best rhyme? Major, minor, one in one time? Or will the tune fall from
look at this building here. The 11th floor of this building is where Grandmaster Yip Man lived from about 1966 until he passed away. And the famous video of him on the wooden dummy was shot there on the 11th floor. The wooden dummy's still there. The place was, his son Yip Ching was still living there, but Yip Ching just passed away about 2 years ago. So I don't know currently who lives there. But yeah, that is the place. So this is quite literally Yip Man's hood. All right? Yeah.
Ninth
I have
floor, not the 11th floor.
when he formed his association in '72, I have a copy of the record. That's how I got his address.
Wow.
And also, this is the proof that Yip Man spelled his name with a fucking Y. All right, not IP Man, but Yip Man. All right.
Ninth floor.
Look, corner to avoid the rain. Although I think the rain is dying down, and we're gonna go see the Wing Chun Athletic Association. Yeah, unfortunately, there looks like they're doing some renovation of the building, so we cannot see it from the outside. So I pulled up a photo to show you what it normally looks like. Okay, so I'll show you here that this is the iconic sign, the Wing Chun Athletic Association, spelled with a V. All right. Right here. Yeah, that's how you misspell that word as well, which was right here on this corner. It's one sign on this side, one sign on the other. But this was basically where Yip Man, well, he didn't really teach too much here because his original association location was the Learn Ting Gym, which I showed you guys on Monday. They moved the location here in 1971. So at that point, Yip Man was about a year off from passing away, and he didn't really teach too much himself. He usually just came here and shot photos. But there's a famous photo of Bruce Lee supposedly at Yip Man's funeral. Bruce Lee did not go to Yip Man's funeral. He came to kind of a ritual celebration about a month or so after, and that was shot here. So this is where Bruce Lee came with a reporter to make sure that they knew that he showed up so they would stop bugging him in the press. Okay, all right, so we're gonna continue. Before we head over to Bruce Lee's final mansion, if you see this building here where the Mannings is, and then you look up, you see the green signs, and then you look up and you see that Chinese writing going across there, that is the, I suppose you could say, the Kowloon branch of Lam Chou's Hongar School. So Lam Chou is Mak Sifu's great grandmaster, and Lam Chou is kind of one of the most important Kung Fu masters in Hong Kong. He's kind of like what Yip Man was for Wing Chun, he was for Hong Ga. Lam Chou was the adopted nephew of Lam Sai Wing. Lam Sai Wing was the most famous student of Wong Fei Hung. If you've ever watched any Kung Fu movies, you've definitely heard about it. Sammo Hung played Lam Sai Wing in the movie Magnificent Butcher, and the real Lam Sai Wing was Lam Chou Sifu. Lam Chou started learning from Lam Sai Wing when he was very young, and by the time he was 16, he was so good that Lam Sai Wing let him start teaching for him here in Hong Kong. And he was probably one of the most prolific Kung Fu masters in Hong Kong. By the 40s, they already had hundreds of students, and they had a main branch on the Kowloon side and one main branch on the Hong Kong side. Lam Chou himself was based on the Hong Kong side, but you have to imagine, he was so successful as a Kung Fu master in those days that he had two very prominent locations in Hong Kong, which shows you how popular he was at that time. And Mak Sifu comes from that line. Lam Chou lived, I think, he lived past 100. He passed away in 2009, 2008. And until his dying day, he was still extremely strong and very energetic. You could see videos of Lam Chou online and see like what a stout and robust dude he was pretty much until the end. And he was the one who really expanded Hong Gar's curriculum to include forms outside of Hong Gar. He even included northern style forms that created two-man sets because he had a background in Chinese opera. So he took the classical Hong Gar forms and he kind of made them a little more theatrical. And so anyway, he's kind of an OG of Chinese martial arts. Lam Chou Kim Hong Hok Yun, which technically translates to the Lam Chou Health School, which is a euphemism for ass-kicking martial arts, okay? All right, health my ass. All right, healthy when you beat the other guy up before he beats you. Before we continue, in this building over here, back in the day, there used to be an old kung fu master named Liu Qikeng. He was one of the founders of the Hong Kong Chinese Martial Arts Association. And I went to his house in 2014 because I was trying to find out about Tang Sang, this famous detective who learned from Yip Man, who was a kind of a notorious gangster and also detective. And I went to Liu Qikeng. At that point, he had had a stroke and he could barely talk. He could barely do much. But he was very respectful and he answered the questions as best as he could. And then I asked him about this famous fight between Bruce Lee and an actor named Lau Tai-chun. Because there's always been this thing like, did this fight happen? Because it was an actor, a very low-level actor named Lau Tai-chun, who constantly tried to challenge Bruce Lee in the press. But he was such a low-level guy, Bruce was like, you know, it would damage me to even fight this guy and win because he's like a nobody, right? And so people said yes, they did fight. Other people said no, they didn't. And so I was told that Liu Qikeng might know something because he was friends with Tang Sang. And supposedly the fight between Bruce Lee and Lau Tai-chun happened at Tang Sang's home. So when I met Master Liu, of course, he couldn't really speak. His wife was really doing most of the talking, which I can relate. And so I asked him, I said, Liu Sifu, like, did Bruce Lee and Lau Tai-chun have a fight? And he said, yes. And I said, how do you know? And he said, I was there. And I said, where did it happen? He said, it happened at Tang Sang's home. And I said, when was that? And he told me the day. And he said, I went up there with a few others and we saw it and it was over very quickly. And then before I had a chance to ask him the next question, his wife looked at him, and mind you, he had had a stroke, so he doesn't move. He said, you told me you were going to play mahjong on that day. And that was in 1972, and this, when I saw him, was 2014. And you just saw this old Kung Fu master was like, oh shit. Almost 50 years later, he had gotten caught, all right? And so, and he kind of laughed it off, and I said, so, Liu Sifu, who won the fight? And he says, Lau Tai-chun and Bruce Lee are both my friends, so I won't say anything. And then I said, well, could you tell me who won? And he said, no, I'm sorry. Could you tell me who lost? No, sorry. And that was it, and I never got an answer. But after I left, the president at that time of the Hong Kong Chinese Martial Arts Association said that Liu Sifu did tell him, maybe when his wife wasn't around, he's a little more open. And he said that basically Lau Tai-chun, who was a boxer, challenged Bruce, and Tang Sang had a boxing ring in his backyard, which he used to train Wing Chun fighters for full contact contests in Fanling, where Yip Man's grave is all the way up there. And he said that Lau Tai-chun came out and Bruce stopped him with one kick and broke his ribs. And gave him money to pay for his medical bills and told the people who were there not to say anything because he didn't want Lau Tai-chun's reputation as a film actor to be damaged. So the reason why not a lot of people know about that fight is because Bruce Lee didn't want him to lose face after he was defeated by Bruce. And that was not the first time such a story had happened. Mass act. Which is pretty crazy. So anyway, every time I'm in this area, of course, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure Liu Sifu has since passed. But every time I'm here, I remember that day, and I remember that no matter how long, your wife will always catch you slipping and will let you know, all right? So we're about to cross over into a section of Kowloon known as Kowloon Tong, which basically, by the way, Kowloon is really Kowloon, which means 9 dragons, and Tong means like something like a pond. So Kowloon Tong is basically like 9 dragon ponds. And this area of Hong Kong is unique because, as you've most likely noticed, most of Hong Kong are residential apartments, not really so many freestanding homes. When we were in the new territories yesterday, you saw more homes because that was the countryside. But this is a section of Kowloon, which is mostly homes, which meant this is where the rich people lived. Okay, if you were on the Kowloon side and you had money, you lived over here, which is why when Bruce finally convinced Raymond Chow to pay him some of that money that he earned from his movies, he bought a home over here. So this is kind of considered, I suppose you could say, like the Bel Air of Hong Kong, or at least of the Kowloon side. So you're going to notice as we go in there, more freestanding homes. All of the fancy private schools were here, so that's why, although Bruce lived all the way down in Yau Ma Tei, or sorry, Tsim Sha Tsui, because his family had a little bit of money, he went to the fancy private schools up here when he started high school. And then later, when he came back as a movie star, he was first living in a very ruddy apartment just a few blocks away. So when he made Big Boss and Fist of Fury, he was living in a tiny, local, shady Hong Kong apartment just a few blocks that way. And on the success of those two films, and with a little prodding on Raymond Shelley, hey, you earned a lot of money from those movies I made, maybe you could throw some of that my way. Raymond actually paid for that mansion, so Bruce did not really own it. The relationship between Bruce Lee and Raymond Chow was a little bit like Suge Knight and Tupac, where he was not really paying him what he was worth, but he would like throw gifts at him, like, here's a bunch of gold chains, now go have fun. All right, here's a car, now leave me alone. Meanwhile, he's earning all of his money from that.
Cumberland Road.
It's actually much nicer than it used to be. I would love to live in that house.
So this house is
Bruce Lee's. Ooh. Yeah, this was Bruce Lee's. Although Bruce Lee's house has been demolished, it's been rebuilt. The wall has been changed. Be careful, there's a lot of student drivers in this neighborhood. Because the driving schools for learning to drive are here. Students are less crowded than you learn on the streets than say downtown in Kowloon, where we are there.
3, 2, 1, and pose. Pose. Yeah, make looks to the camera. Yeah, that's it.
Good posing, good posing.
Take one of me.
It actually means Gao Long, Gao meaning 9, Long meaning dragons. And the 9 dragons are these hills. They're so supposedly, although I've never counted them exactly, supposedly there are 9 of these hills and peaks that go to the top. And that essentially creates the border between the new territories, which is where we were yesterday, which is the area between here and China, basically, and what you call Kowloon. So south of these hills to the tip of the Tsim Sha Tsui, where we were, that is called Kowloon, which basically means 9 dragons. So it's kind of protected. And this is the 9 dragon pond. Of course, some Chinese, they're very superstitious, and they believe that Bruce Lee died because he was the little dragon surrounded by the 9 dragons in the 9 dragon pond. So therefore, he must have died. It was just obvious it would have happened, right? Totally makes sense.
That's why.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. A taxi driver here in Hong Kong. I took a taxi once from the airport all the way to Kowloon, and the taxi driver basically was explaining this to me nonstop. He's like, no, that is why he died,
So
and
now
he
you guys
literally
know why.
wouldn't stop, right? So it was just like a lot of nodding and smiling. No, it was the cocaine. Sorry. So anyway, you can't. It's a little bit obscured by these trees here, but basically, if you were to go directly straight as the crow flies, right before, as you see, there's some apartments there up on the hill. That's Beacon Hill Road, and it's basically where Betty Ting Pei's apartment was. So she was right up on the hill there, at the border of Kowloon, and that's where he used to go for his midday trysts. And so that's where he passed away. And on the day he passed away, Linda Lee, Bruce's widow, and Raymond Chow decided to tell the press that Bruce Lee had collapsed here because they had a beautiful Japanese-style garden in the front. If you ever see the photos, it was a beautiful garden they had here. And the story was that, Bruce was strolling with Linda in their own Japanese garden here at 41 Cumberland Road when he suddenly felt ill and collapsed, and then was taken to Queen's Elizabeth Hospital, and then suddenly died. That was the first story. And what was that?
Was that story printed?
It was printed the first day that he collapsed here in the garden, all right, and then was taken there. Which the question is, well, if he collapsed here, why wasn't he taken to? There are many more nearby hospitals, and so there was a reporter at Queen's Elizabeth Hospital who was sitting there while they're waiting to get some more information, official press release, and that reporter decided to go for a little walk, and he went to the ambulance bay, and he saw a clipboard that had the list of where all the ambulances had gone and the addresses where they picked up whatever, and he kind of looked and saw that the ambulance that had picked up Bruce Lee did not pick him up at 41 Cumberland Road, but rather 70-something Beacon Hill Road. And they were like, isn't that the address of Betty Ting Pei? And that's when the reporter made that announcement, and Raymond and Linda were forced to amend their first statement. So that is, in reality, that was the real conspiracy, and that's part of the reason why so many people didn't believe whatever they were saying, because the thing they lied about is they didn't want people to know that he died at Betty's place. They wanted it to be an innocent stroll in the Japanese garden at 41 Cumberland Road. And once that was found out to be a lie, then they didn't want to believe anything that was said, even if what they later said was completely true. That initial statement was false, and that dramatically reduced Raymond Chow and Linda Lee's credibility. And that was just, they didn't want them to know where Bruce had collapsed.
Like, how long would it on average take Bruce to go from here to there?
He would have driven his Mercedes SL.
Yeah, so that's like 10-minute drive?
No, that is probably 4.5.
So he literally had his mistress 5 minutes from his home.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
And
that's
very
that's
efficient.
what I wanted to know.
That was his Wing Chun brain, and a straight line right there. Center line, all right? All right, no Choi Lei foot action, just straight Wing Chun straight all the way through. There's a hospital right basically next to where Betty Ting Pei's apartment is, and the big question was, well, how come they didn't just take him there? And two reasons. One, he was already dead by the time they got him. He was not alive. And two, what I've recently found out is at that time there were a few hospitals that had an agreement with the Hong Kong government that if people came in with a drug overdose or some drug related thing, they had to report it to the government. So that meant you could get in trouble for that. And given the circumstances of Bruce Lee's various collapses, Baptist University Hospital had that agreement with the Hong Kong government where they would need to be reported. The Queen's Elizabeth Hospital in Yaomatei did not. So that was the reason why anything that would have been found in the autopsy or whatever did not need to be reported to the government. So that's why they basically carted his dead body to Queen's Elizabeth rather than taking him there.
So without further ado, we're going to play, and I'll pause or talk over the bits that we want to pause and talk over. Woo! All right. And we see Bruce fighting his first fights in the movie, fighting the great Sammo Hung. Yeah, Sammo Hung! Yeah. And indeed, who's this? Roy Chow. Indeed. From Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, and in Bloodsport, of course, Senzo Tanaka. Now, coming up now is the very last bit of footage that we know for a fact that Bruce Lee filmed in this lifetime. We don't know, maybe he filmed other stuff we don't know about, but when he goes to jump into the flips, and then the flips themselves, it's Yuen-Wah doubling him, but this is the last footage of Bruce Lee. You hear that? He goes, Bruce, so help me. Bruce, so help me. Bruce, so help me. This actually could be recut to be something of a gay love story between John Saxon and Bruce Lee. If you look at this footage. Yeah, this is
Thanks, I hate this.
Like, get these girls away. This is like, now you know that Ang Lee is doing like a Bruce Lee movie. Well, this is like Brokeback Dragon. Here he is. Hello.
Excuse me.
That's Yuen-Wah. Now, this is actually, Bruce is famous for being the student of Yip Man, but he also was a student of Master Su Hon San in what was derived from the Jingwu Men, which is the style that Bruce Lee's character learned in Fist of Fury. So normally when he's demonstrating, and even if you see he does kind of acrobatic demonstrations in America, he's doing these northern leg techniques that he learned from Sifu Su Hon San. I think Su Hon San also had a long career in movies. He was in all black and white Wong Fei Hung films, but understandably he's been neglected in terms of Yip Man, in terms of who was Bruce Lee's teacher. But Bruce Lee had several teachers, and I think Su Hon San was
What is
also
Su Hon San's style?
Northern style, northern leg, bat pie. So that's why he's doing all these northern leg
He
kicks.
learned it when he was in America, correct?
No, he learned this in Hong Kong.
Before he left for America.
Before he left for America, yeah. So basically,
Is that the teacher that he traded cha-cha moves?
that was the one. Yeah,
the legend.
totally.
Okay.
And that's where he got this.
Jesus.
There's Mars at the right of the frame. And this is Genoir, obviously doing the flip. Genoir. Lam Ching Ying. Lam Ching Ying getting beat up here. Jackie.
Jackie Chan.
Dying a horrible death. Jackie again, by the way. That was Jackie again.
And he got hit right. The tree got hit for real, right?
Jackie getting hit again. I had Jackie show me where it's him. And look, just of the lighting crew, obviously they're using really big Araflex at that time. You can't unsee it now. Massive. There's Jackie again. Jackie. That was Jackie doing that flip. Now, look at this guy's having the most fun on the set that day. Watch. He's really... All the prisoners come charging out. And you have a shot where Bruce is directing. Over there, guys, come on. And Mr. Han is just standing there behind him. Ready when you are, Bruce. Now, what people don't realize is that actually Sekine had a musical background, so he actually bursts into song at this point, and it goes, ha, 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 ha. Here we go. Enter Dragon, as you've never seen it before.
Gallery is pretty amazing. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it. And now 50 punches. Let's go. Lock them out. Quick. 50 punches real quick. When you're done, you're going to finish with the left in front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. as I mentioned before, Sifu Yip Man, when he started teaching at the Restaurant Union, which was a building there, was an office building, and he would teach a few times a week, but there would be times like in the morning where they needed to use that office for actual Restaurant Union business, and he would need a place, but Yip Man didn't really feel like getting his own place, paying rent, and he could actually teach here in the morning for free, so he would bring his students who would come and learn here into the temple. And the late Chan Sifu, he brought me here, and he said that right around the corner on this side, because it was slightly out of the view of people walking by, is where he would teach people Chisao. He taught that Bruce Lee had been here a couple times, William Cheung, of course the late Chan Sifu, and a number of people would learn here privately in the morning. So this was one of the spots where the old man taught. So if you guys want to take some photos, the temple's San Tai Chi, which actually means Three Prince Temple. And I don't know too much about the specific history of it. I can only tell it looks a little bit more Taoist than Buddhist.
Is there anything in particular you want to do today?
Okay, all right. If I try to punch someone and then they put their hand up to obstruct my punch. So now my initial strategy, it was fair, it was the first two, like, yeah, what are you doing? You're messing with it. See how difficult it is, right? All right. Now it's like, ugh, right? And that would be, wow. Audience. So we have the palm strike. You've created a shield in front of you. Third one, you step in, you chain punch around, running away, you stay on, you stay on, you stay on, you stay on, until pop, 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 pop. Good, nice. And pop, 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 pop.
Oh, wow.
Most of the stuff here, these are things Bruce Lee owned. They even have like his school records when he was a kid. Now, it is 1 hour long. It is the best documentary on Bruce Lee I've ever seen, and it's only shown here. And one thing though, in the exhibit, you're not allowed to take photos. Wow, we came perfect time. Let's keep your voice down when you're in there, but if you have questions about anything in there, ask me. Okay, let's go. I have not seen this because this was not here when I was here last time. Yeah. Someone came here, was with your dad.
I've been here like 4 times. So I'm excited. It's pretty awesome.
So it is, in my opinion, the best compromise of all the different versions. We're gonna go for a little bit of a walk. First walk is about 14 minutes in that direction to St. Stephen's College, which was the university that Yip Man went to around 1912. And it was supposedly at that time where he met Leung Bic, who was the son of his Sigong, his Kung Fu grandfather, and then he got the most refined version of Wing Chun, a much more refined version than he got from his Sifu. And then 24 minutes in that direction, this is walking, so it's really not that far, is Tai Tan Bay, where the jetty was, where they from Enter the Dragon, and there's a few other little kind of ruins and locations that were still that were in the movie, and you could still see. I actually loaded up a website that shows some of that. The big walls and the courtyards where Han's tournament was is in the American Club. The American Club, however, is a private club of which I don't think anyone here is a member. These are the most terrifying stairs I've ever walked in my entire life. They are this high
And this narrow.
and that long. Football, rugby, and you feel like you're falling forward the whole time. No, it just goes nowhere.
Soccer and then
Nerds.
This is the nerdiest thing possible.
Out there is the little bay where they come ashore and enter the dragon. But we can't get to it. It's through locked gates on private property. Here it is. I found it. Look at all the bugs flying around me. Oh, the mosquitoes. Lots of mosquitoes. Guess I should get out of here. This over here is covered in fire ants. Let's take a look. So you got fire ants everywhere. I'm covered in mosquitoes. And the sign said beware of snakes. So I got the shots I needed. I think it's time to get out of here. Oop. No fire ants.
Not allowed, I'm afraid. And that? You're the wrong color. You beat it. Hey, you. Come here. You were wanting to get in here. No. Tell you what. There's only one thing you need to do. Pretend you're a dog, and I'll take you in.
Telling me a lie without a reason why. You've blown it all sky high. You've blown it all sky high. Our love had wings to fly. We could have touched the sky. You've blown it all sky high.
This is from Kevin Mayle, 1974. I've been vacationing in Hong Kong for a few weeks, during which I've marathoned all 70 episodes of Dudesy as I return to my hotel every evening. I've noticed in the opening theme song, Chad seems to throw himself throat first into the hole. In the theme, in the opening fucking little video there, you do a fucking splash dive into the hole.
That's accurate, dude. That's what I feel like I'm doing on this show.